Hey all, it's Adam-Wilber. Welcome back to the channel. This channel is to help you become the best performer and entertainer possible. As always, none of these videos are monetized. If you want to support us and the work we're doing, head over to vulpinecreations.com. That's all the promoting we're going to do. Let's dive right in. This video is about 6 hacks taken from singers and rock bands to engage an audience and how we as magicians can use them to our advantage. Let's check them out. All right, hack number 1 is mirroring. So that just means doing something we want the audience to do as well. I've done this in a few of my performances where I'll walk out on stage. Now this is something I saw Jeff McBride do. He has a great opening bit when he walks out on stage with his fan. He starts whipping this fan around and it's an applause cue. So before he even starts, he's got the audience applauding with him. It's a brilliant piece of theater that does a few things. It lets the audience know, hey, it's okay to applaud. And it also says to the audience, hey, we're with you. Yep, what you're doing, we're gonna do as well. So that's mirroring, right? It's doing something that the audience can jump on board with. So it's a way of us saying, hey, it's okay, let's get crazy, let's all be in this together. The way I've tried this in my shows is I'll walk out on stage confidently, standing up straight, shoulders back, and in an open posture. And in doing so, I'll look over the audience, thank them for being there, and ask them, hey, can we give you guys a round of applause to start the show? And I start clapping, then the audience starts clapping for themselves. But really what I'm doing is psychologically trying to cue them, hey, it's cool to clap here. We're all gonna be clapping together. Now also at the end of some of my routines, there are some routines that inherently don't elicit an applause. Now that may be because the routine is based more mentalist style and they're really thinking about what just happened. So I want to inspire them to clap. So there are a few routines in my show where I'll let the moment sink in. I'm not going to steal that moment of wonder from them and start clapping over top of it. So I'll wait a few beats, 3 to 4 seconds as I'm looking over the audience, and then I'll gesture to someone and say, thank you guys so much. Thank you very much. And I'll just start clapping as if I'm clapping for the audience saying thank you, but I'm mirroring, right? I want the audience to see that and then have them clap as well. So mirroring is a very powerful tool that you can play around with. You do something that the audience does as well. Singers and bands will do this with sing-alongs, right? Or even walking out on stage and start clapping as they begin. I've seen a rock band come out where instead of coming from the side of the stage, they walked through the audience clapping the entire time. By the time they got on stage, the entire audience was off their feet clapping for them, and they haven't even sung a single word yet. So mirroring is a very cool and powerful tool that you can experiment and play around with. Hack number 2 is a classic, but a very important one, eye contact. Now, if you're nervous and looking people directly in the eyes makes you even more nervous, that's all right. Pick a spot in the back of the room that's just over top of the audience's head. Now, I don't really recommend that. I think it's much better to actually make eye contact with multiple different people throughout your show. But if that makes you nervous or throws you off your game, pick a spot on the top of their forehead, a spot above the entire audience just on the back of the room. But make sure you're not just going to that same spot over and over again, because then it looks very robotic. You want to make sure that your gaze is going across the entire audience. Whoever is in the furthest and toppest left point, make sure you look at them once or twice. And whoever's at the closest front right point, make sure you look at them. So you're just going across the whole audience making eye contact. And again, if you're nervous and the eye contact throws you off, then look at their forehead. Don't overthink it. Really what we're trying to do is invite them into our world. And if I'm not looking at anybody, but I'm just talking, that's not very inviting. On the other hand, if as I'm talking and presenting, I'm looking at everyone with a smile and an opening, warm invitation, of course they're gonna jump on board and be much more engaged. So make eye contact, and not once or twice throughout the show. We're talking to our audience, so talk to your audience. Not 1 or 2 people in the audience, your entire audience. As you're speaking, make sure they know you're talking to them, and the best way to do that is with eye contact. This one should go without saying, but a great way to engage the audience is to actually engage them. Talk to them, bring them up on stage. If you're nervous about having audience members on stage, you gotta learn to get over that. A show is significantly better when audience members are on stage having a good time. So there are a few things you have to keep in mind with that. How do you know you're picking an audience member that is worth bringing up on stage? Now we're gonna do a full video on this a little later on, but basically find someone who's having fun. Okay, if you say, I need to have someone come up on stage, and you see a couple people pointing, going, this person, I never pick that person, because it's usually someone that genuinely doesn't want to be on stage. But if I say, oh, I need a volunteer, who wants to help? And I see 3 or 4 people really excited about coming up, and they've been having fun throughout my show, those are the kind of people I want on my stage. Because then I bring them up on stage, we have a good time, and the audience is going to do exactly what that spectator's doing. If that spectator is nervous, they're part of the audience, so the audience becomes nervous. If that spectator is having a blast or is truly amazed, then the audience will follow suit. So you've got to pick the right spectator, but then you've got to engage them. If they're up on your stage and you're making fun of them, shame on you. You should not be doing that. Now, if you're a comedy entertainer and that's part of your character, okay, I don't agree with it, but I know plenty of people who do it and get away with it. In my opinion, if somebody trusts you enough to come up on the stage, you should never make fun of them. Never make them look stupid, and never make them be the butt of a joke, okay? That's just my 2 cents. Take it for what you will. If we're engaging an audience member, in turn, we're engaging the audience. So make sure if that audience member says something funny, pause. Acknowledge they said something funny and say something funny back, right? Have a conversation with this person. We're not bringing them up on stage to be a prop. We're bringing them up on stage to show them something, to have them share in the experience. So if they say something, if they do something, pay attention to them. It becomes very easy to get someone up and just forget what they said or talk over a line or a question they may have. You have to be present with that person on stage, because if you're ignoring that person, then the rest of the audience is going to assume that you're ignoring them as well. All right, the next hack is something I've tried in a few theater style shows, and it worked really, really well. My point was I wanted to get the audience quiet the second that I came, or right before the second I walked out on stage. So I used my music to cue that, music and lighting. I have music playing, it builds to a crescendo, and then all of a sudden it stops and the lights go out. Now you could have 300, 3,000 people in a room, but the moment those lights turn off and the music stops, it's like a switch. Everybody stops talking and looks to the stage. So if I'm trying to engage an audience before I even walk out on stage, I've found that in a bigger theater setting to be the best way I can do it. It builds up a bunch of energy, people are talking. I don't make announcements saying the show will begin in 5 minutes. I have, if it's a big enough stage, ushers that will say, hey, take your seats, but I let the music build, and then it quietly softens, goes out completely right as the lights turn off. As soon as the next thing happens is the light turns on, only on stage, and I'm standing there, welcoming the audience. But it allowed me to basically quiet the entire audience with one little music hack and one little lighting hack. So build, music playing, everyone having fun talking about the show, music stops, lights go out, people look around, it takes about 5 to 10 seconds, they get quiet, and then the stage light comes on and I'm on stage. It also adds a little bit of mystery, right? How did the magician magically appear on stage? Well, clearly I just walked from the curtain, but it still looks kind of cool, and it really does help to engage the audience and let them know the show is about to begin, it's time to be quiet and watch. All right, hack number 5 is to share your story and not tell your story. So we're storytellers as magicians and entertainers, right? We're bringing people along these magical journeys. If you're listening to a story, it is much more engaging if it can be a story you relate to or you feel a part of than just listening to somebody tell their story. So an example would be if I came out and said, hey, my grandfather was a really smart guy. He used to always give us toys. That's one way to start a story. Another way is to engage my audience and say, did anybody here have a grandparent that would love giving you toys or maybe candy growing up? Now the audience feels a part of this and they have to go, oh yeah, my grandpa did. Or I didn't have grandparents, they died when I was younger, or whatever it may be. But now I'm not telling them a story, I'm sharing this story with them. And just that little trick of changing the opening sentence from, oh, one day to, has anyone ever, is a really good way to engage the audience. It lets them know, hey, this guy couldn't be telling this story if we weren't here. Otherwise, who's he asking? So just changing your opening sentence of a story from an I statement to a question statement can be a really cool hack in engaging your audience. All right, hack number 6 is to spread the heat and then start a fire. What do I mean by this? Let me take a piece of my own advice. Have you ever been performing and seen 1 or 2 pockets of people in the audience that are reacting just crazy, clapping every time, laughing at every joke, just having a really fun time? But it seems like they're just in pockets. This happens to me frequently, but I have learned to leverage that. So the opening line may be, "Oh, thank you, ma'am. If you're gonna clap, move around the room. It looks like an entire audience," right? I do it jokingly. I don't do it in a berating tone. I'm making a joke out of it. But I'm also letting the other people know, hey, I like this lady because she's clapping, okay? Another way of doing that might be, "Thank you guys so much. You guys have been really good. Thank you." And the people who are clapping, I'm directly looking at. The audience will pick that up. They understand why I'm thanking these groups of people specifically, because they're clapping, they're enjoying themselves, maybe they're standing up, right? So I'm sort of giving kudos to the people who are acting the way that I want them to. Now, this is a double-edged sword. If you do it too often, it can turn the rest of the audience against you. So you have to be really careful when using this. It's a tool that you really want to use only after the other hacks have been mastered. So again, if I see a couple groups that are acting the way I'd like, I'm gonna point them out and thank them. I'm not gonna say something like, "Hey, why don't you guys start acting like this person?" I'm gonna disguise that in thanking these people for acting appropriately. And again, be caught. Don't do it at the end of every routine because you're quickly gonna turn the rest of the audience against you. But dropping it in here or there can be really beneficial and a really nice hack to throw in there once you've mastered the others. All right, that's it for this video. 6 hacks taken from singers and band players on how we can engage an audience. I hope you took something away from that. We can't wait to see you on the next one.